Something. This is amazing. There's 4 subfloors. Holy crap. It is time to return you to the battle of this amazing place, the Kingmaker, Fort Koenigsmaker. And before I blow your mind, let me take you through the battle. Koenigsmaker and the surrounding area was occupied by the 19th Volksgrenadier Division, a former Luftwaffe Sturm division, with the 416th ID to the north, and to the south of Metz was the 21st SS Panzerkorps, the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division, and the 462nd Volksgrenadier Division in Metz. Koenigsmaker and the general area was defended by about 5,000 men, with light and heavy artillery. All had established themselves in established, well-dug-out defenses and in the fort itself. Patton's plan was to conduct a pincer, capturing Metz and Thionville with the 5th Division to the south and the 90th to the north, with the 95th to contain German troops in Metz and a later to conduct together a concentric attack on that city. Koenigsmaker was right in the way of the northern pincer, on an elevated position, and it had to be taken. And of course, Koenigsmaker was supported by several other contemporary forts, and many more smaller or older forts, as I have covered in previous episodes. The 90th 358th Infantry Regiment's 1st Battalion was tasked with taking the fort. The weather was miserable. It was cold, it was wet, it was raining, and there was mud everywhere. For the Americans to cross the flooded river within reach of the German guns was one thing, but also the weather had flooded the Germans' foxholes and temporarily even the minefields. On the night of the 8th, 3 regiments crossed the river. The engineers slowly began to establish bridges. They had boating equipment, and all done in the utmost secrecy, as the fort had to be taken on the first day for the entire advance to succeed on time. Initially, the overflowing river was the biggest obstacle, as initial surprise was achieved. The first 2 companies struggled to the rail lines running parallel to the river, and from there they advanced onto the fort undiscovered in the rain in 2 columns abreast. It was not until A Company was on top of one of the barracks by the moat, German soldiers entered the trenches and opened fire, and with close grenades an MG battle now ensued. And now the battle was on. German mortars began raining down on the Americans, followed by more German artillery fire, located from behind the fort. The German battalion was now fully awake and counterattacked, causing some 40 American casualties on A Company, but did not manage to dislodge the Americans on top of the West Barracks. But the Germans would fire from underground passages, fight from tunnels and blockhouses, all interconnected. The 315th Combat Engineers now brought satchel charges into play to neutralize the fort under intense mortar fire and MG fire. The engineers would place charges against the heavy steel doors, throw them against steel observation domes, fighting their way into the forts and pillboxes, with one taken on the first day. Slowly, they're advancing towards the North Barracks, but losses were heavy and the fighting was constant. B Company had not yet been able to cover the moat, and soon I'll show you why. B Company would eventually be withdrawn. The engineers ran out of explosives and had to be resupplied, done by airdrop. Eventually the Americans would pour gasoline into the ventilation vents, ignite them with thermite explosives. 3 days later, the fort was still fighting, and the Germans were determined to not quit. Also, reinforcements were on the way. Losses on both sides were mounting, and fire from the fort hampered resupply and evacuation of the wounded as well. However, in the meantime, battalions of the 358th began slowly to bypass the fort, and the 1st Battalion had finally captured 2 tunnel entrances. It was now becoming clear to command that the fort was not really worth fighting for anymore. The battle was moving further surrounding the fort, and they ordered A Company to leave the fort. However, With 8 men of the 2nd Platoon and 13 of the 3rd, the 2 lieutenants, Neil and Ross, declined to leave until the job was done, responding that this fort is ours, and until the platoon is down to 2 men, we will not retire. And then they went into the attack. At the same time, 150 Germans were on the way to relieve the fort, but they were spotted and ambushed at close ranges. Cut half their numbers were killed by machine gun fire, and the rest managed to flee. The German commander, now surrounded and with no relief coming, offered his pistol to the commander of G Company, having little other choice. The Americans had lost 111 soldiers on the fortress here alone. The Germans possibly had lost 128. Now let me show you exactly why this was a horrible place to fight, and how impressive the underground actually is, not to mention what B Company had problems with. Look at this mess of entanglements. This is why you have to be careful here. You see, just barbed wire is one thing. See the spikes? There's trees falling off this, but spikes every 2-3 meters throughout, and some of this may not have been cleared of munitions and mines. This is what's in the spaces in between the forts and the fighting positions. And the next fort is in there. Wow. This really is hidden well. And it is covered in muddy, spiky slides. I have fallen and tripped and gone on my ass. But you know what? I really cannot complain. 110 Americans and God knows how many Germans died for this place. The least thing I can do is visit it and look at the pockmarks on the wall. This does not look like a guardhouse. Looks more like very ornamental. A light up there, still there. Well, the door's open, but it looks like it, but interesting. I mean, I've been in here. I think this must have been intermediate door. Wow, look at the shrapnel there. Look at this impact. This was an American shell impacted right here. And we were inside, but this really, almost as if it's still there. I wonder if it penetrated what it was. It looks like an explosive shell, but with a fort like this, I would probably try to pepper away at it with some sort of AT rounds, honestly. And look at the shrapnel on the walls. Wow. Joseph Sayers, PFC. He was here at that time, and he saw his platoon was advancing towards a heavily fortified German trench that the Germans were firing straight on the Americans advancing. He knew that they could not continue if these Germans were still here. So he charged forward with a heavy machine gun, took position up on a ridge just 50 yards from the Germans,
hidden behind a log and took up firing on them. He killed over 12 Germans, possibly more, and in this engagement his American unit was able to advance and take the position. Unfortunately, he was killed in this action, but he was awarded the Medal of Honor right here at Koenigsmaker.
The Medal of Honor citation for Foster Joseph Sayers reads, "He displayed conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty in combat on 12 November 1944 near Thionville, France. During an attack on strong hostile forces entrenched on a hill, he fearlessly ran up the steep approach towards his objective and set up his machine gun 20 yards from the enemy. Realizing it would be necessary to attract the full attention of the dug-in Germans while his company crossed the open area and flanked the enemy, he picked up his gun, charged through withering machine gun fire, rifle fire, to the very edge of the emplacement, and there killed 12 German soldiers with devastating close-range fire. He took up a position behind a log and engaged the hostile infantry from the flank in a heroic attempt to distract their attention while his comrades attained their objective at the crest of the hill. He was killed by the very heavy concentration of return fire, but his fearless assault enabled his company to sweep the hill with minimal casualties, killing or capturing every enemy soldier on it. PFC Sayers' dominantly fighting spirit, aggressiveness, and supreme devotion to the duty lives on as an example of the highest tradition of military service."
And it's interesting that not everything I'm walking on is wooden branches. Some of this is an old cable. From position to position, or maybe into town. It's impossible to tell at this point. There's a lot of spiky things in this nature out here, and a trail leading that way. Don't know what that means. I am somewhat intrigued, because now I'm walking on cement. And I'm guarding probably an entrance or a block below me. This was an interesting place. I'm deeply troubled that I'm walking this way, because I know that on one side I'll fall on spikes, and the other I'll walk in a minefield. Those are spiky things. I do the dumbest bloody things. So what is beneath me? Yeah, see spiky things? Lots and lots of spiky things. There's a cement wall here. Must be a block or something, but I don't see a way in. It's not a Countess Guard wall. Don't know what this is. But I can always, tangle myself in the barbed wire and come down here and find out. Well protected, huge overhang. This I haven't seen before. Fresh air coming from there. Well, enormous amounts of barbed wire. All this is so protected. There's a fence here as well, but I don't see any entrance here. I just see a very long gallery and a river of mud. But look how long this is. Honestly, the floors and all the broken crap and the spiky things, the mud is the worst. But what is this? There's, maybe an opening down there. It's almost unbelievable that there would be an opening. But this is so long. and with barbed wire defenses, entanglements all the way up to the wall, and even probably the hooks in the wall as well. Never seen that. It's very intriguing. Don't know what we can get in there, because I don't know what it is. But again, there's enough underground galleries. This is a fighting position. Maybe this is a counter-scarp defensive. You just have dudes inside a wall here. Hollowed out wall, we've seen that before. Firing back towards the fortress proper, which means there's almost little walkways. But how are you going to traverse this full of barbed wire? Look at this, there's no way an enemy could get over this. And I think the barbed wire stretched all the way over to the wall here, where it was connected to these hooks. But this is, and I'm imagining all this inside is firing positions, but wow, that's a heck of an indent. This is firing down along the slope where I was. This is the Caponier, I think. Huge firing positions. Massive firing positions here, basically guarding the interior of the fort. This is all firing back towards the fort, or I would say the road, but the road leading to it is way higher than this. Remember, I had to go down 3-4 meters of a ditch. Wow, I think this is the counter-scarp wall with massive. And again, just if anybody were to attack this, what's the point? Look at all this stuff they would have to go through. It would be impossible for anybody to get here. If they're not cut down by machine gun fire, they would have been so far entangled up in the barbed wire that they would never get there. And this just continues. That's what that is.
This is the tangle B Company had to try to make their way through under heavy fire from two sides and the huge Caponier.
How interesting that would be to get into. This is just a hallway with firing positions, so it's okay, but still. And again, wow, I'm imagining this would simply just be they would sweep the whole interior of the fort, and nobody could even get above it or get down from here. Okay. Wow. This is something. This is amazing. What a massive, this is easy 100 meters, 150, 200 meters in each direction from this point. Wow. This is interesting, and it is such a low, it is so low down, you wouldn't be able to see it coming in. So if you tried as an infantry to come down below the ditch and infiltrate into the fortress, you would run into this. The barbed wire and this. You'd just be cut to pieces. Like I said, I don't think it came to close quarter combat here, but if it had, this certainly would have been a place. You couldn't get a tank or armor down here to shoot at this stuff. So this would be infantry against cement bunker wall. Wow, that's a nasty place. And corrugated metal on the ceilings. Actually, this looks a little heavy-dutier, if that's a word. It's a word now. Heavy steel door here again. Oopsie daisy. And here we are in the longest shooting gallery I've ever seen. But just for the heck of it, brilliant. Firing position. I was wondering if there was a bathroom. There almost had to have been. So, electricity in the ceiling, but I had to see this from the inside. This is so long. And here's the first of the firing positions that would even lock in place there. And you would just dominate the field outside. Absolutely amazing how it would work as a trap. Probably is a radiator there. Another firing point there. I'm walking uphill ever so slightly. This is such an interesting place. Just enough for a guy with a rifle here. Yeah, that's right, I get it. I'm walking on electrical cabling of quite a bit of a vintage, fairly heavy cables. Well, this is just enough for a rifle here, barely. Enough for an MP. Probably a lighter. Gets nice and wet in here. Let's see if this is all there is, or there's a connection to the fort itself, which I would imagine that it probably is. So now we're rounding the. Must be kidding. Wooden floors again? Seriously? I have never in my life seen a Prussian fort with that many wooden plates on the floors. I'm a little annoyed. So here, another firing position, another door, and you come around. More firing positions here. Wow, here was something larger. Wheel, steel plate maybe, and almost looks like there's a tunnel underneath it. Electricity. I wonder if this was somebody tossed something in here. Sort of looks like a grenade, but firing positions, and obviously a radiator. I can't wait to find out who put in the radiators, if that was the Prussians or the French. There's another exit to outside. Stepping down, more cables, there's a radiator on the ground. Okay, that looks fairly significant. And the soldier's table is still here, intact. My God, so everything is still here. They literally just left this. I wonder if he was for this was to open these two shutters. So I wonder if that was for a heavy gun or lighting, to light up the ditch maybe. You had significant ventilation here, lots of electricity here, little tables, by the guns if this was. These shutters open and close, but not just for ventilation. This can't be ventilation because this will be pointing in the potential firing direction. This is very mounts for machine guns on the sides, certainly. Steel shutters. I'm thinking he would have been a light. That's all I can think of. Oh, the great ventilation for the individual guns. And this would open. Interesting. Here's another similar setup. Tables and everything. This is the corner of the building, and I will turn to the left. A strange place for a bunker oven, especially considering there's a radiator. Alright, so the next firing gallery. Okay, before we get that far. Okay. I'm thinking lighting. I think there would have been projectors here to light up that area, because there's no ventilation for weaponry here. There's no ventilation in the ceiling. Electricity running to it behind the heavy steel doors, because very large opening for the projector in case somebody would come through. Staircase looks good. What do we got here? Oh, observation dome. This is in good shape too. Wow. Observation dome right above it. Of course, with a little seat there for the dude to sit on. And here's the table where they would plot coordinates for lighting. And a radiator again. Wow, this staircase, there's nothing wrong with this staircase. This is as solid as the day they built it. Okay, this is a little hard to film. There's a bat sitting there looking at me going like, what in the hell are you doing? I live here. All right, I'm sorry. This is just a observation dome with the bat. So I'm just gonna pull back down again, leave the bat alone, or her. I mean, I don't think it's bat mating season, but what do I know? Observation dome only. The slots, ventilation, table, seats, electricity running under, and a radiator, and a steel door. So here they would observe from. This is what I was thinking was going to happen. But let's continue through the fighting compartment before we start going down and into things. This could be a tank. Could be a water tank. It's probably a water tank. It doesn't smell of diesel or anything, so I'm thinking it's a water tank. Here's another fighting compartment, similar to the other ones. So there should be a long straight down here as well. All the same setup. Ventilation for weapons, possible lighting in the center. Did anybody leave a We Were Here Too book? We should. Steel door. My way here. Funny how these don't move. Oh, what? Myself some more. Wonder where this is. An out? Okay. Here's another out. This is another out to the outside world. And here is another fighting compartment with a winch, just like the ones we've seen before. Lighting, electricity. Okay. I can't tell the difference between bat sounds and bird sounds. Alright, here's a wooden door I'm walking on. I don't know why. They used a lot of wood here. Oh, I'm walking on wood again. Something's never changed in this place, apparently. Alright. Alright, so we're coming down the next straight. This is long firing position, but it is interesting how it's fairly dispersed. The actual firing ports are quite a bit in between. As you have now noticed, they're a good 20 meters between them. So here's one, that's closed. Now I'll just keep walking until we get to the next one. But there's also here grooves that you could seal off with steel beams so nobody could get past it if there was a breach on the outer end of this. And not until here is the next firing position, which is a little bit open, a little green there. So they're not. Yes, you can fire from the straights, certainly, and remember, to the left is an enormous entanglement of barbed wire and mesh and probably mines and flares and spikes. Here's the next. So it certainly would not have been a comfortable experience for any soldier out there. Although I'm imagining the majority of the fire would come from the center hub that faces in all directions of this L-shaped building. But from the center you can cover that entire ground in all directions. And this is leading back, pointing back towards the main fort. So I would always imagining that the main entrance or the access to the main fort would be from this direction. And yep, I know I'm walking on water. This is facing this out there, so he would be an out. He would be up. I'm going to be balancing on rocks here. Yeah, this is down to dead end straight down there. What the hell? Doesn't matter if I get wet. I'm just going to continue. This would have to lead back into the fort. Look at all these cables. All this I'm walking on are old electrical power cables that would have run here in the groove to my right. This, I think, is longer than the first one. But at least with all the openings, the air is pretty good in here. Here's another one. Yeah, still fighting out there. There's a spider guiding it. It's amazing how... Well, what did I say? 2.5 kilometers of tunnels? And that's certainly coming true. Just had no idea these tunnels were also fighting galleries. I'm still on level ground. There's still fighting ports. This, I'm almost thinking, will lead all the way back into the main fort. To that little tunnel that I looked down into past the machine room. Because now I'm thinking, nope, bloody hell, we still have firing ports. We're still at level. This is amazing. So this whole, I'm almost glad I didn't walk that yesterday outside because, well, it has a lot of spiky things. 400 or 500 meters at this point, and I'm expecting the firing position to end at some point. They almost have to. Still here. So this is just one long defensive wall, and looking at me way up there is what I think is a... Well, it looks like there's a firing port looking at me. Certainly would have expected as much, given this long straight, which you could cover this straight with a revolver. Still firing ports. Wow, this is the end of the straight. My God. That was just a turn. There can't be firing ports, so we must be going underground. No, we're not. Yes, no, we're not. We are still. Wow. This is amazing. I mean, holy hell. I mean, where does this go? It's like, I truly can't believe this. I'm walking a bit uphill, but I haven't seen anything like this from the outside up on the fortress. The only thing I would thought would connect with this would be an underground connecting tunnel down to this gallery here. But I'm still at surface level with a wall outside, firing to my left all along this. That's almost ridiculous. I mean, this is crazy. This is probably one of the longest underground tunnels I have walked in all these years. Damn, I knew Koenigsmaker was special. At least I'm walking on cement, which in my world makes it very much more comfortable. See something that looks like a door there. Corrugated metal above head, I mean. Firing position at an angle. That's actually strange. They put that at an angle instead of... Oh my God. This is ridiculous. It continues. Still with the firing ports. I mean, I worked out this morning. I didn't know I was going to go for a power walk, and I'm going significantly uphill. 5-10 degrees maybe. So, what am I coming up to? Another hallway. This is ridiculous. I mean, if you call for reinforcements on the other end, it'll take them half an hour to get there. At least it's pretty easy to get out. Just walk one direction or the other. But wow, seriously, wow. All right, here's the firing position. That actually holds us straight. Covers us straight. Another steel door. And at this point in time, I just don't want to see any more hallways. We all know I'm not going to get what I want on that. Oh, position of the hallway. He wasn't out. That was defended by that little peephole there. Holy God, I gotta keep going. How is this possible? I know this must be, at this point in time for you guys just watching, must probably be rather boring. But let's talk about the battle. You had the whole American army pressing down on this place. And you had the Germans sitting in here in an old Prussian fort that had been, to some extent, used by the French before World War II, but it hadn't been upgraded by the French and incorporated in the Maginot Line. So there's no French fighting compartment developments or anything like that here. They used it for some storage, troops, training, the usual, and the French took a lot of inspiration from here when they took it over in the end of World War I. They were looking at Mutzig and Wagner. They were looking at here to get inspiration for the Maginot Line. And this was one of the last forts the Prussians built. Like I said, this was not entirely complete by the time of World War I, but that's not a problem because World War I never got here. But there was 4 105 short howitzers from the time of the Prussians, and the French replaced those with long 105s that they had taken from the German forts at Metz. So that's what the Germans here used to fight off the Americans when they crossed the river here nearby and were fighting their way this way. And it was very heavy going because there was a lot of very well-determined Germans sitting here fighting off the Americans, to the point where the engineers had to have more supplies. The engineers were trying to blow up trenches, barbed wire entanglements, anything they could to get to the fort, to get past here, to the point where they had to have airdrops of more explosives. And eventually they breached unit by unit. 110 Americans died fighting for this fort. I don't have a number of Germans that was killed here. I know that there was a rescue force. I think it was past the 8th. There was a rescue force. There's been a fire. There's been a fire, yeah. That was sent here by the Germans. Of 124. That is the end of the line. Something terrible happened here. Here is the cutoff. This was blown up or hit by an aerial bomb. But certainly this is the end of the line. This was, I'm almost certain, continue into the fort. Well, it would continue into the fort. I just don't know exactly where. That the map will tell me. But again, it was also bombed. the fight for Thionville was very vicious and brutal. I said, finish that sentence. The Germans had a rescue force of 125 men that was sent here to support the garrison, but they were intercepted by American forces who at that point had begun to bypass on both sides this fort here, and therefore they were captured or killed. And by that time Thionville was behind the line to significant enough of a degree that the commander here took the wiser choice and surrendered his 300 men. Alright, I am not going to film myself walk all the way back the same hallway. You get the idea. I'll see you on the outside.
When walking this enormous shooting gallery while looking at the map, I'm seeing building after building outlines, but the long gallery, I couldn't see it anywhere until I finally realized that this is the counterscarp wall. This gallery circles the entire fort. That is mind-boggling. Considering how elaborate this is, I've never seen anything like this before. And if that is not enough to impress you, let me show you something that damn well better.
Alright, stopping for a minute here at the large water tank, which I wanted to see what was underneath it, and one of my thoughts were that I thought a pipe run to it, which makes me wonder if this was a tank for condensation from the ventilation system. Look at all those bugs under there now. Let's not disturb those. What's down here though? I would imagine a Kazan. Of course there's a Kazan down there. There's another parallel hallway. In the bathroom. And another staircase down. Are you fucking kidding me? Flooded room. Could be a little command center. This looks very identical to what's above. He runs one technical tunnel. How can there possibly be 3 levels under this? There's a mouse. Yay. Don't worry, buddy. Not gonna eat you. So this is where the Kazan was, I'm imagining, since there's ventilation. And cement. Oh, there's a frame. Ooh. What? This is the hole I saw from above. This is definitely an explosion. Something was definitely blown up. Somebody blew something up, put something heavy up there. Didn't disturb much, I'll be honest. Wooden doors, still in place. Little handles. A bit rusty, but Feldkau. Okay, let's continue to blow our mind and go down below, because there is a below, and I can't believe there's a below here. Hooks. I would imagine these are for the beds. The door here is broken. I can't believe this. All the cablings. All the technical stuff. How can there be another floor? Son of a... There's another floor. There's 4 subfloors. so what is this? Is it a tank? I don't know what this is. Just gonna walk over and take a look quick. Okay, this is a bathroom. So about the sporadic camera movement here, but I'm just okay. So that's all there is here. But that goes into, it almost looked like there's a tank, but I think this was a bathroom. Just a bathroom, two bathrooms, to sit down and then a urinal. However, just because here the things come in packages, the fourth circle, shit on a stick. Fuck me. Holy crap. Holy crap. Jesus. This is like we'd see at 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞. But I have no idea what I'm walking on, and that troubles me a little bit. It looks and feels like cement. Just gonna go for a little bit here. Wow. Jeez. We are so, what are we on the fourth floor down? This feels hollow. But how's this? I was like, how's this possible? This is where all the cabling ran. All the technical through this tunnel. And certainly the scrappers were here. And still, it was reinforced. So where does this go? This floor just never ends. And this is torched because the scrappers were using all this hard. This is the technical tunnel that leads us to the fort. That's fine. This is about 1,000 meters long of scrap metal. All right, gonna go above, take a peek behind the door, because I know what this is. It's bloody amazing is what it is. I can't believe this place. We're 4 levels down. This is angling up at a good 15 degrees. So that would come up and meet the engine room. I'm gonna have to look at a map, but that makes perfect sense. The tunnel I saw from the machine room, engine room, whatever you want to call it, would come here. But why are they feeding so much electricity down here? This is a fighting compartment, right? Or, I'm waking up the mosquitoes now, I am. Get away from me, get away from me. All right, we're gonna go up here for a minute. So, just gonna turn this off. Throw the mosquitoes off for a minute. Okay, so here. It's a broken doorway. There's a lot of electricity that ran here. I remember we're on the second floor down. Floor below us, floor above us. And ventilation makes sense. You can down here somewhere. Yeah, fuses are still in place. The fuses are still in place. Oh, and the firing position. At what? What are we shooting at here? I mean, what are we shooting at here? I'm on the second floor down. This blows my mind. Damn. There's so much electricity that goes here. I mean, yeah, granted, some of it could be World War II. You know what, this door is in such good shape, I can lean on it. That was not graceful, but seriously, live with it. Okay, so now I'm back up on the first floor. Wow, I'm just on the observation dome. That was not electrified, so again, why the electricity? Just because you had a couple projectors? They're literally running the whole engine, the whole, the heavy electrical cables are running under here. Mind-blowing place. This is one of those places I would love to go back to with a couple of dudes who knows what they're doing as well. Because although I feel fairly stable in most of these places, I'm certainly imagining this is a fort that could very easily, especially in the interior, get you in trouble. Because there are a lot of drops, holes, and the technical tunnel also down there where I stopped. Again, air is a thing. There's no ventilation, there's no firing ports down there. And if there's a dead end, like the explosion between here and the fort, then air circulation would have been sealed off in a place where there's been fire. And I'm crazy, but I'm not an idiot. And oxygen is one of those things I'm very appreciative of. I do have a little tank that will last me 400 breaths, but I left it in the car because I didn't really think I was going to need it. So, yeah. But also, if you start running into a pocket of bad air or oxygen, it can go bad really quickly before you even get your own tank out. So, you know, it's a very long technical tunnel that's been torched leading into the fort. So, that was absolutely amazing. And now it's time to go find something even more amazing.
I can't explain what it is about Koenigsmaker, but I am not done here. But I do want company next time. This is a battlefield, and possibly still a graveyard, given the many explosions, the fighting, and the imploded parts. And before you ask, and I know you will, if ever there was a haunted fort, this would be it. When I was walking back with the camera off, I kept talking in German to the German soldier I felt was there with me. I just expected that if I stopped and turned around, I would see a wet, tired grenadier watching me with sad eyes. And I'm not exactly the emotionally available type for that sort of thing, but there's something here, and I cannot wait to get back here. If ever there was a place which was calling me, this is it.
My name is Tino Struckman. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year, I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.